Welcome back to High School Sports Extra, presented by Nicolay National Bank. The Green Bay Southwest boys basketball team off to a 9-0 start to the season, and the Trojans entered the week ranked number 2 in the state in Division II. Joining me now to talk about all things Southwest hoops is the head coach of the Trojans, John Polkowski. Happy New Year, John. How you doing?
Thank you. Good, good.
Well, there's different ways to handle the holiday season when you're leading a basketball team. Some people take a lot of time off. Others jump into those holiday hoops tournaments we see all around the state. You guys were in the WBY shootout at Concordia University. Tell me a little bit about, what you get out of that experience of playing down there.
Well, it's just a competition alone. We had 2 good games, Wisconsin Lutheran in Oshkosh West, and Mark Miller does a great job with coverage, promoting the games, and it gives guys that exposure to different coaches coming in and out of the gym, and just a great environment. And
you always hear from coaches every year that you never really know what a team's going to play like during the holiday season. Practice time is sporadic, and the rhythm that you've created throughout the season is kind of thrown off. What impressed you about how your team has handled kind of the new year and balancing all of that?
Well, I think it helps with the good start that we've had, and you're right. You just don't know if that long break, and we only had 1 practice going into the WBY shootout, and with it being a neutral site, not being there, not knowing much about our opponents, we didn't know other than film with Wisconsin Lutheran or Oshkosh West. It's good to come out of there with 2 wins.
And it's also the only time all year during the regular season you're going to play back-to-back nights, right? Which is a valuable experience as you head towards the playoffs.
Exactly. We kind of brought that up too with regionals. You would play Friday, Saturday, and that's where we kind of want to treat that you got to prepare for that first one and just be ready for the next day.
All right, well, the Trojans return to their home floor in action on Thursday night, taking on Sheboygan North in a showdown of the last 2 teams in the Fox River Classic with zeros in the loss column. Now, your Trojans jumped out to an early lead, and it seemed like every time Sheboygan North tried to answer, you guys answered right back, especially from 3-point range. Nice to be at home and seeing those threes go down early, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been over a month since we've played at home, and the guys were shooting extremely well. We shot 15 to 23 overall, and obviously Owen Stieber had quite the night.
Yeah, the sophomore, the younger Stieber brother, dropped in 8 threes in the game. Now, when a guy that comes in averaging, about 7 points a contest, drops in 24, that's a good start to where it's probably going to be a good night.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it just shows that we're not dependent on, our 2 studs with Lucas and Will Polkowski, that any one of our other guys on the floor could take over, and I think that makes us hard to guard and hard to prepare for it too.
Yeah, you guys led 37-25 at the break, and as you can see, kind of the inside and outside games both working. Polkowski there with 14 points. You mentioned Lucas and Will. Those 2 guys seem to feed off each other really well on the floor. It seems like they've played together for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. They read each other really well. Just their differences in how they play. Will's kind of inside-out guy. Lucas is too, but we like that ball in his hands, and obviously they're used to playing with each other.
And at the end of the day, it's an 84-68 win, and Southwest remains undefeated. Now, back in the middle of December, your team faced a Bayport squad that, let's just say, had dominated the series with Southwest in recent years. I went back, trying to look at the records, and it looked like about 20 straight losses. I don't think since Bayport entered the Fox River Classic, you guys have beaten the Pirates. So how big of a statement was that for these guys to kind of get that monkey off their back?
I think it's huge. I think it's huge from these guys playing Bayport growing up and then getting to that varsity level and getting that win on a program that's traditionally at the top of our conference. I think it means a lot to them.
And if you're watching at home, you're going to see a clip of Dick Bennett watching in the crowd. Now, he didn't just randomly show up. There he is. He's his grandkids, Lucas and Owen Stieber. So pretty cool that a Wisconsin, legend, a coaching legend there checking out the game. But for you, man, to be a coach and having a guy like Dick Bennett watching you, does that make you nervous when he's watching you coach and you're making moves on the floor?
Yeah, he's been a great resource for us, and obviously one of our biggest supporters too, with Owen and Lucas on the team.
And as you get closer to making your way through the FRCC for the first time, I would imagine there's some discussion about handling success. Now, since you took over, 6 years ago now, you've had to deal with your share of adversity building this program up. And then you get to the point where you're winning, and then it's kind of a whole new battle, isn't it? Yeah,
we're kind of in a different position where we have been. Will and Lucas have been with me since they've been freshmen, so this has been kind of a years building up to this year, and just guys being able to handle some of this pressure has been great recently.
And if you watch a Southwest game, you're going to see a lot of versatility from your team, a lot of guys, maybe interchangeable parts. You know, when you talk about depth, it just seems like, you know, your team, the speed that they play with, a number of guys can handle the ball. Is that one of your greatest assets? I mean, there's just so many guys on any given night that can go off.
Yeah, I think our guard play is definitely our strength, and Will, like, he's maybe our probably biggest guy on the floor. At some times, he's really kind of out of position anyway. So we're a team of guards that like to find each other. I like to say we like to celebrate that great pass or that assist when it does happen. Guys really like that as well.
Yeah, and Will Polkowski, as you mentioned, I mean, he's averaging a double-double, something like 19 and 11 on the year. And what is he, about 6'3"? But he has to play inside a lot of games. Like you said, he's kind of doing some different work depending on the team you're playing. What's that like for a guy like him? He likes to shoot the ball outside, but a lot of nights he has to do the dirty work, and he's doing it really well. Yeah,
it's just him being smart with how he's using his body on the defensive side of things, and I think he's having a great start to the season.
How do you look at the Fox River Classic Conference this year as a whole? Now, you look at Bayport, they graduated a lot of guys. Some of the teams that you see every year, I mean, you've beaten a lot of the teams that have been in the top 3 in the past couple of years. Where would you rank the conference this year as far as maybe how tough it is this year compared to recent years?
I mean, I guess you could say I think it's very competitive. Maybe the talent base is not there what it has in past years, but I just look at our schedule that you still got to beat that team every night. They're on your schedule, so you still got to take care of them, whatever their record says.
And how do you approach kind of getting into the second half of the season? You know, you're always working towards the playoffs. Everybody knows what's coming at the end of the year, and you have those difficult Division II teams every year. We talk about the Kaukanas of the world, the West Appears in recent years, the Seymour. I mean, a lot of good teams that you're going to be playing. How do you kind of build up to that in the second half of the season?
I think it's just continually just taking that next game at a time and continuing to get better every night. We don't want to get stale and content on where we're at. And obviously our short-term goal is the next game. Long-term is to take conference. And then once tournament happens, we'll go as far as we can.
All right, that's all the time we have this week in the Prep Spotlight. John, thank you so much for stopping by. And
thank you.
Best of luck the rest of the year.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back on High School Sports Extra, we have to wrap up the show with the Local 5 Top 5 Plays, Team of the Week, and more. So keep it here.